Yeah, hi. Can everybody hear me okay? There might be a little bit of echo in this room. How's the audio right now? Is either my voice or the music too quiet? I changed up the playlist a little bit from last time, but it's still mostly the same, and it's all still very spooky because we are going to be reading monsters. I did also add the widget this time that overlays the chat over the stream, so just so the chat will be there for the like the VODs or whatever you call them. Otherwise, it just looks like I'm talking to myself. I'm also sitting here finishing up some of the written Digimon reviews. I'm going to be starting those up again soon. There have been a fair bit more new Digimon since the last time. Yeah, they took a pretty long time to get to the final evolutions of Gamamon. You can probably predict, though, that I don't think it was a good idea for the ultimate evolutions to be humanoid after the perfect evolutions were dragons. I feel like almost everybody would rather dragons be, the end game. Yeah, some of the songs are louder than other ones. I can probably do that. I can do that myself later. I just didn't get around to it. I have an old program I can do it in. Sorry, I was finding the Tumblr post I made about the stream so I could reblog it one more time. Just kind of whenever, probably whenever I finish writing at least like 10 of them. I'm probably going to post the new reviews to my Patreon first, and then maybe like a week or two later I'll start them up on the site. They did make they did make the first, I think it's the first ever figure of a Mind Flayer that is not a gaming miniature, although it's a little it's a Funko. It's not a Funko Pop, fortunately, but it is like a Funko brand figure. Really? There's a hut in Star Wars, voiced by Dana Snyder now. What is that, like in like Mandalorian or something? Oh, Lego. That makes sense. I keep forgetting there's like an empire of Lego media now. Master Shake always would have made a good Hut, I think. He's got Hut energy. I think the chat is auto-filtering all links, and I'm not actually entirely sure how to turn it off, but it probably should be left on in case of spam bots again. Yeah, how is anyone supposed to play Zelda? It's gonna turn every link into a series of asterisks. That's gonna be a dramatically less visually interesting game. Okay, it's a little past 5 now for me, so I'm going to open the monster manual. Let's see. Let's see. Where is that? There we go. So last time we got up to the water elemental, I feel like we don't necessarily have to read what an elephant is. We have that monster on Earth. That's a monster we're all familiar with in our everyday lives. I don't think we really need to read about the elves. We all know what elves are. Okay, so properly the next monster is the Etin. Giant-like creatures which dwell only in remote areas. Their lairs are always underground, for they prefer darkness and are nocturnal. And Etin attacks with both arms, its left head directing the left arm and the right head the right. It is evident from their appearance that Ettins are closely related to orcs. Did they keep that, or are Ettins still like two-headed giant orcs, or did they kind of like push that to the wayside over time? Ettin kind of looks like he's smelling his club. I always thought this was a weird illustration. It's like from behind, and he's kind of like dancing around. Yeah, but the next monster is one of my, it's another of my favorites that I think has been highly underappreciated. The Floating Eye. It's so underappreciated. It never had an illustration in any print of this book. So I went and I found one that I can overlay for a second if you want to see the Floating Eye. But first let's explain the Floating Eye. It's actually not, as much as I love eye monsters, this is not technically an eye monster. Floating eyes are saltwater fish of very unusual nature. They have transparent bodies and a single large eye of about 3-inch diameter. The latter is all that is readily visible of this fish, and when it is gazed at, the creature, so doing, must save versus paralyzation or become hypnotized and remain stationary. Predatory fish, always near floating eyes, then eat the helpless prey, while the floating eyes feed upon the scraps. Naturally, these creatures also eat any small marine creatures that come upon and hypnotize. So yeah, it's a deep sea fish that would only exist in a world where hypnotic eyes are a common adaptation, which they are in D&D. And if you want to see, I'm not sure this is the first time it was illustrated, but this is one of its few illustrations. I can just click on here. And there you go, there's the floating eye. Hypnotic fish that is invisible except for its eye. It's also, yeah, it's adorable. It's just a little guy. Now let me line it up right. There. Now this is, I have fixed the book. I have amended this book's greatest flaw. Yeah, let me get the floating eye off screen before I continue. But the next monster is an actual eye monster, and it is the elves. The elves came back. No. Get out of here. Okay, the Eye of the Deep. is another deep sea monster with an eye. So clearly these are probably likely to live in symbiosis with each other. It is possible that this monster is a relative of the beholder, for there are remarkable similarities between the two species. The eye of the deep dwells only at great depths of the ocean, floating slowly about, stalking prey. It has two huge crab-like pincers to seize its victims, and a mouth full of small, sharp teeth. Its primary weapons, however, are its eyes. The creature has a large central eye which emits a blinding flash of light to dazzle and stun those in its ray. Yeah, he does look like Plankton. The eye of the deep also has two smaller eyes on long stalks with which it is able to create an illusion, or, acting independently, the small eyes are able to cast Hold Person and Hold Monster spells, respectively. That's a weird distinction, though. Like, what's a person and what's a monster? I mean, apparently even an elephant is a monster in this. So that there's a spell that affects whatever the magic designates as a person, and then the same spell for everything else that conceivably exists. That just seems kind of imbalanced to me. Yeah, this was officially the very first variant on a beholder. This is when they decided there would be all these other weird mutant beholder variations. Although the physical copy of this book I originally had did not include this illustration at all. There was just like a blank space here, like with the floating eye. Let's see, because it inhabits the deeps, this monster has an armor class of 5 everywhere, including eyes and eye stalks. The eye of the deep is hateful and aggressive, generally conforming to its land-dwelling cousin the beholder as regards temperament. There are so many good, like, aquatic monsters in the D&D setting, but like as far as I know, not that many people play aquatic scenarios. Flightless bird. That's it. Just flightless birds are in here in general. These large avian creatures are typified by the ostrich, emu, and rhea. They live in warm. We know what those animals are, and well, I'm sorry, they're monsters, not animals. Giant frog. Giant frog, killer frog, poisonous frog. I like this drawing of the frog lying around like that. Giant frogs are found in marshes, swamps, large ponds, riverbanks, and lake shores. The smallest are only about 2 feet long. Medium-sized frogs. 2 feet is big, but I don't know if I'd qualify a 2-foot frog as a giant monster exactly. I think counting the legs, with the legs outstretched, there are real frogs that are a little more than 2 feet long. A giant frog has a tongue which is equal to 3 times its body length. And that is not true of real frogs, despite every single cartoon in the world. A real frog's tongue is only about as long as its head. Killer frog. These smallish giant frogs employ talons and teeth in attack. They are man-eating, specially bred mutants. Only their cannibalistic habits keep them from becoming common and thus a real threat. I think really this whole entry should have just been the killer frog. I feel like that's what we would really want to see here, are some killer frogs. Poisonous frog. This is a rare variety of the normal frog. It secretes a poison from its skin so that its touch as well as its bite can prove fatal. However, as the poison is weak, all creatures gain a plus. Okay, but in real life there are frogs so poisonous that you just die. If you touch a wild arrow frog with like a paper cut on your hand, you will die. So why does the monster manual's poisonous frog just like, it's like rare and it just kind of like makes you a little sick? I guess unless it bites you, which... Yeah, I liked that wording, the killer frog. A giant frog the size of a smallish frog. Fungi. Violet.
That's it.
I had my copy of this book so early in life that I still didn't read perfectly. I was a real little kid, so I just thought this was a violent fungi, which it still works. It's a violet and violent fungus. Violet fungus growths resemble shriekers. Okay, shriekers are another fungus monster, but they're later in the book instead of being under fungi. There was no real sense of organization to this book. Violet fungus growths resemble shriekers and are usually, 75% of the time, encountered with them. The latter are immune to the touch of violet fungi, and the two types of creatures complement each other's existence. Violet fungi favors rotted animal matter to grow upon. Each fungus has 1 to 4 branches which it will flail out with if any animal comes within their 1 to 4 foot range. The excretion from these branches rots flesh in but one melee round, unless a saving throw versus poison is made or a cure disease spell is used. The branch length of this growth depends upon size. Yeah, there's a... For those who don't know, in the D&D world, there is a type of giant mushroom called a shrieker because it shrieks. It shrieks so loud it hurts, and it attracts other monsters. So shriekers are they're like the dungeon alarm system. But this one, it looks like a shrieker, but instead of shrieking, it kills you, it rots you to death. I always felt like these were, I always felt like the two of these back in the day were like a very iconic monster set to this game, but I think they've kind of fallen into obscurity. They still get reprinted, but they're not super famous like the gelatinous cube or anything. I thought they should be. Giant Gar. I love this drawing. This is a very good drawing of a giant gar. I like the perspective, the open jaws, little man, it's gonna mess up. Unlike their smaller relatives, giant gar tend to be aggressive hunters. No, I think all gar are aggressive hunters, regardless of their size. They inhabit only large, deep lakes and rivers. They are capable of swallowing prey whole, and any hit of 20 indicates they have done so. Note that a small giant gar can swallow an elf or dwarf whole. Do we still... Are elves considered smaller than regular humans in D&D? I don't think they are anymore. I think they're usually portrayed as like about human height or even taller. If a creature is swallowed whole, there is a 5% chance per melee round that it will die. A creature so swallowed must have a sharp-edged weapon in hand to have any chance of cutting its way out. The swallowed creature must be able to inflict damage equal to 25% of the fish's total hit points to get free. Can you imagine you're actually dying to a giant gar, though, in a D&D adventure? I think that's really funny. You just get eaten by a regular fish, but it's big. Gargoyle. This is another really good drawing. The gargoyle emerging out of the shadow. I always like the really pained expression on this gargoyle. I always thought it was really eerie. These monsters are ferocious predators of a magical nature. They are typically found amidst ruins, dwelling in underground caverns. They will attack anything they detect, regardless of whether it is good or evil. 90% of the time, they love best to torture prey to death when it is helpless. Because they are fairly intelligent and evil, they will sometimes serve an evil master of some sort. I disagree. I think gargoyles are guys, generally. You know, they're supposed to repel evil from churches, right? And they serve as rain gutters. That's a good deed. And then there's there's Disney's gargoyles, but that was a lot later. That was 20 years later than this book. Capoacinth. This creature is a marine variety of gargoyle which uses its wings to swim. They conform in all respects to a normal gargoyle. At that point, just say the normal gargoyle can swim. I don't know why they gave it it's a cool name, Capoacinth. I don't know where that name comes from. But yeah, if you're gonna make a underwater gargoyle, you should give it some other abilities or properties relevant to living underwater. Gas spore. This is another monster I think is fairly classic that isn't as popular anymore. And it's also another great picture. I love this guy's pretty screwed here, as you'll find out. At any distance greater than 10, a gas spore is 90% likely to be mistaken for a beholder. Even at close ranges, there is a 25% possibility that the creature will be viewed as the eye tyrant, for a gas spore has a false central eye and rhizome growths at the top, which strongly resemble the eye stalks of a beholder. If the spore is struck for even 1 point of damage, it will explode. Its gaseous contents react violently to air, and every creature within a 20-foot radius takes 6 to 36 hit points of damage. If a gas spore makes contact with exposed flesh, the spore shoots tiny rhizomes into the living matter and grows throughout the victim's system in but one melee round. The gas spore dies immediately. The victim must get a cure disease within 24 hours or die, sprouting 2 to 8 gas spores. This is an interesting concept because the gas spore depends on being attacked to reproduce. Yeah. It depends on being attacked, but like looking like a beholder, you'd think would be, defensive camouflage. It would be something to discourage being attacked. So either this creature evolved to depend upon like, monster slayers, upon like adventurers looking to defeat powerful evil beholders, or maybe it actually evolved like mostly for the sake of other beholders, because beholders hate each other. Beholders kill like any beholder slightly different from themselves. That, or like maybe there are like even bigger monsters that like to eat beholders. I don't know. I don't remember if that's ever brought up. Oh, here's the gelatinous cube. Yeah, I think maybe the gas spores. I think maybe beholders are actually their natural host, I would guess. But yeah, the next one is the gelatinous cube. Is there anybody here who doesn't know the gelatinous cube? Maybe like anybody who just doesn't really know D&D in general, because this is like a really classic one. The gelatinous cube is one of the scavengers not uncommon in dungeons. Its cubic form is ideal for cleaning all living organisms as well as carrion from the floors and walls of underground passageways. Certain very large cubes are taller so as to be able to garner mosses and the like from ceilings as well. Yeah, this is the gelatinous cube is it's a corrosive living mass of slime in a perfect cube shape. It's a slime box. So it's a creature that only exists. It only exists because dungeon tunnels exist. And I remember at one time it was considered a really stupid monster, like people made fun of it, but it kind of grew more and more. It grew more iconic, and now there's even a gelatinous cube in the new movie in Honor Among Thieves. Gelatinous cubes are nearly transparent and difficult to see. As these monsters travel about, they sweep up metallic and other items which are indigestible to them. This includes treasure, as well as potions, daggers, similar items. Such material will remain in the body of a gelatinous cube for several weeks before being cast out. If a gelatinous cube touches an opponent, a saving throw versus paralyzation must be made, as the creature touched is anesthetized for 5 to 20 rounds. The cube then surrounds the victim, secretes digestive fluids, and digests a meal. Can be hit by all forms of weapons. Fire. Cold will have no effect. I have heard of someone, I can't remember where. It might just be like a post that circulates where someone in their campaign, their character has immunity to all like acid damage or corrosion of any kind. So they took a gelatinous cube as their mount. They hover, they ride around like suspended in the cube, like a Jello mold. They're supposed to move very slowly, though. I don't know. Maybe that person, maybe they like accelerated their cube magically. Gassed. These creatures are so like ghouls as to be completely indistinguishable from them, and they are usually found only with a pack of ghouls. When the pack attacks, it will quickly become evident that ghasts are present, for they exude a carrion stench in a 10-foot radius, which causes retching and nausea, unless a saving throw versus poison is made. Worse, the ghast attacks as a ghoul with regard to paralyzation, and this attack will affect elves as well. Okay, see that this is confusing because it comes before the ghoul alphabetically. But yeah, the ghoul is an undead once human creature, feeds on human and other corpses. Terrible cunning. The ghouls can paralyze. They can paralyze anyone but an elf. So, a ghast is exactly the same as a ghoul, but it can also paralyze elves, and it smells really bad. This is another one that it should have just been, rolled under this other monster as a variant. But instead, the ghoul has a different variant, the Lacedon, and it's the underwater ghoul. It's like the gargoyle all over again. The Lacedon is a marine form of ghoul. It conforms in all other respects to ghouls. Ghouly laughs. That's really something else. Ghost. There's the ghost. Spirits of evil humans who were so awful in their badness that they have been rewarded, or perhaps cursed, by being given undead status. That's written so silly. Thus they roam about at night or in places of darkness. These spirits hate goodness and life, hungering to draw the living essences from humans. As ghosts are non-corporeal, ethereal, they are usually encountered by creatures in a like state, although they can be seen by non-ethereal creatures. The supernatural power of a ghost is such, however, that the mere sight of one causes any humanoid being up to age 10 years? To age 10 years. Okay, if you look at a ghost, you get 10 years older, and then you flee in panic. Yeah, this is... People expect ghosts to be kind of a very basic, very ordinary thing in a fantasy setting, and definitely not always evil. Not always evil, not that powerful, but the original D&D ghost was always someone awful in their badness, and if you look at them, you get old. You get older by 10 years. That's a good question. If a baby looks at a ghost, does it grow into a 10-year-old child instantaneously? Or does it just get old? Like, does it stay a baby, but now it's a 10-year older baby? After this happens, what's the cutoff before it happens again? How long do you have to look away from the ghost before you get another 10 years older looking at it again? They attack by magic or by telepathic means. Any human, including dwarves, elves, gnomes, and halflings, killed by a ghost is forever dead. Giants are huge humanoids. I never cared that much about the giants. They're just like big guys. Fire giant, Cloud Giant, Frost Giant, Hill Giant, Storm Giant. A lot of big dudes, big guys. Stone Giant. How about the gnolls? Let's read about gnolls. Gnolls travel and live in rapacious bands of loose organization. Oh yeah, the Etten was actually earlier. It was a few pages back. They did not categorize it as a giant in this original book. Let's see. Gnoll bands recognize no other gnoll as supreme, but they do not necessarily dislike other bands, and on occasion 2 or more such groups will join together briefly in order to fight, raid, loot, or similarly have greater chance of success against some common foe or potential victim. They have a so-called king, very powerful personally and with a double normal-sized following. His authority extends only as far as... When was it decided that gnolls were literally like humanoid hyenas? Because that's what they are now. I guess they kind of already looked at. Yeah, I do think they're cool as like hyena like humanoids. Generally on friendly terms with orcs, hobgoblins, bugbears, ogres, and even trolls. Gnolls are strong, but they dislike work and are not good miners. I mean, nobody likes work. Nobody likes mining. Actually, this was already here. A great resemblance between gnolls and hyenas. With greenish-gray skins, darker near the muzzle, reddish-gray to dull yellow mane. Short lifespans, 35 years. Gnolls only live to be 35? Huh. Yeah, the idea of pure evil species is a dumb one, and at least this edition also went so far as to have a pure evil language. You know, gnolls speak their racial tongue and chaotic evil, and some other languages. There's like common language, and then there's evil language. And specifically, there's the chaotic evil language. I don't know what that would even mean. Gnomes. Gnomes are... Didn't they only just make gnomes... Yeah, they only just made gnomes playable, like very recently. I think the idea of the evil languages is that they're just like the preferred language of like demons, I guess. I feel like we know what gnomes are. Giant goat. These reclusive herbivores dwell in hilly country. They will aggressively defend themselves. It's just goats. Just big goat. Size, large. 5 foot plus at shoulder. It's not that large. Although I think I keep forgetting that the sizes are also based on the squares of the graph paper that was used to play the game. or just, standard graph paper. So you could interpret that as like 5 feet tall, or you could interpret that as like 5 people tall. But yeah, there's the original goblin. The first D&D goblin is like not at all how people envision goblins these days. Little tiny ears, kind of just like human proportions otherwise. Goblins have a tribal society, the strongest ruling the rest, allowing fealty to the Goblin King. It is possible that goblins are distantly related to kobolds. Now that sure changed once they made kobolds like related to dragons in recent stuff. Like the latter, goblins enjoy dwelling in dismal surroundings, although they tend to inhabit caves and similar underground places in preference to any habitation above ground. They too hate full daylight. For every 40 goblins encountered, there will be a leader and 4 assistants who are equal to orcs. There's a lot of just like how many. There's a whole lot of just how many goblins, goblin math. For every 200 goblins, there'll be like a sub chief and 2 to 8. We don't need to mess with all the goblin math. So list of goblin weapons. And goblins are fair miners. Why do they keep bringing up? They keep bringing up how good monsters are at mining. I guess that makes sense for like dungeon-based ecosystems. They hate gnomes and dwarves and will attack them in preference to any other creature. All goblins are slave takers and fond of torture. That's not true. Lots of goblins are okay. They're just dudes. Oh, but goblins speak lawful evil. The gnolls speak chaotic evil, but goblins speak the lawful evil language. Wait. Goblins range from yellow through dull orange to brick red. They weren't green. The original D&D goblins were never green. That's very. I don't like that. I reject that. Oh yeah, now we're on the golems. Clay golem. Flesh golem is literally just like Frankenstein's monster. Not considered undead in this setting. There's a difference between like raising the dead and making a thing out of dead people. Look at this Frankenstein just beating that guy up. The iron golem here, I'm pretty sure the illustration comes directly from an old movie. I can't remember suddenly. I know it was Ray Harryhausen. Like it was a stop motion like giant statue. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Jason and the Argonauts. That was the one. Uh, the use of golems in these games is kind of like a loaded concept now. Well, it always was. It was. I mean, they specifically. They're a religious. They come from Jewish folklore, and they're not supposed to encompass like, you know, Frankenstein's monster, but as far as just like a magically animated statues and humanoid constructs go, they've come up with a lot of interesting ones in the since this book. There's a lot of weird golems in D&D. There's like a maggot golem is my personal favorite idea I've seen. Is like this, you can make a golem out of maggots in, I think, second edition. Gorgon. You know, most people only think of Gorgons as, you know, like Medusa, but that gets its own different entry later. This is I forget where the idea of a cow or bull-like Gorgon comes from. I know it's from before D&D, but it's become pretty obscure. Yeah, it's similar to a Catoblepus, but a Catoblepus also already got an entry earlier. Gorgons are bull-like creatures covered with thick metal scales. They prefer the fastness of a wilderness or dreary caverns for habitation. A Gorgon is able to breathe out a cloud of noxious vapors which will turn any creature to stone unless they make the appropriate saving throw. Breath shoots forth in a truncated cone shape. To use such breath up to 4 times a day. The awareness of Gorgons extends into the astral and ethereal planes, so do the effects of their breath weapon. Yeah, I think you're right. I think the armored like poisonous cow idea was it was another take on the Catoblepus at one time. Grey Ooze. Grey Ooze is a slimy horror which inhabits subterranean places. It resembles wet stone or sedimentary cave formations. This creature corrodes metal at the same rate a black pudding does. I talked about this in the previous stream, but for anyone watching who doesn't know D&D that well, but knows like other RPGs and especially video games, D&D is the origin of the idea of slimes and oozes as, you know, as a fantasy monster, as something you would encounter in a magical medieval setting. But the original slimes, the original D&D slimes, they're not weak low-level enemies. They are like super dangerous, extremely tough to deal with. They're like very nasty. An exceptionally large individual's intelligence of a sort is well developed. Furthermore, these exceptional individuals have a latent psionic ability. Yeah, some gray oozes are intelligent and psychic. And then we're right to another goop, the green slime. I like the little illustration. These are both good. These are both very good. I like the gray ooze cascading down the stairs, and I like the green slime just pouring down from the ceiling. Green slimes are strange plant growths found in subterranean places. Although they cannot move, they slowly grow, feeding on animal, vegetable, and metallic substances. They are sensitive to vibrations and will often drop upon passing creatures from above. Green slime will attach itself to living flesh, and in 1 to 4 rounds thereafter turn the creature into green slime. No resurrection possible. It eats away wood slowly, consuming but 1 inch thickness in an hour. Green slime eats metals quickly, going through plate armor in 3 rounds. It can be scraped off quickly if the scraper is then discarded, excised, frozen, or burned. A cure disease spell kills green slime. Other forms of attack do it no harm. Occasionally, huge slimes or colonies of dozens have been reported. I really like the green slime as a monster because it's just goo that falls on you and kills you. But I think in more recent editions they no longer give it its own monster entry, do they? They kind of just they shove it to the back of the book with just the like environmental hazards. Griffin. Yeah, they shouldn't have reduced the green slime down to just a trap or a hazard. It should still be a monster. Griffins seek cliffs and rocky habitats in which to build their nests. If conditions permit, they will lair in a cave. They're aggressive carnivores, and their favorite prey are horses. If they come within sighting or smelling distance of horse flesh, the griffins will wing to the hunt. They are much sought after in their fledgling state, for they can be tamed for use as fierce, loyal steeds if obtained before maturity. The young are non-combative, but the adults will attack until killed. Fledglings sell for 5. This gives you instructions on poaching baby griffins from the wild. I don't like that. Disagree. Let's see. Groaning spirit. Banshee. Why didn't they just call it the Banshee? That's what most people would call it. The groaning spirit or banshee is the spirit of an evil female elf. Is that still true in D&D? Do only elves and specifically evil lady elves become banshees? Yeah, they specified the baby griffins are sold on the open market. It's not even, there isn't even like a law. Let's see, the groaning spirit can attack by its chilling touch. But its more fearsome mode of attack is its wail, or keening, which will cause hearers to save versus magic or die on the spot. The sight causes fear unless an appropriate saving throw is made. It can wail but once per day and only during darkness. Huh. We're not too far into the stream so far. There's halflings. I don't think that's another one I don't think we need to go over as a monster. They were already just a player race at this point, weren't they? I'm pretty sure. Oh, but there are tall fellows. A halfling over 4 feet tall is considered a tall fellow. And they have their own different properties. Oh, and there's stout. Stout halflings are shorter than regular halflings and stockier. Huh. Harpy! There's the harpy. There's another naked monster in this book. Harpies have the bodies of vultures with the upper torsos and heads of women. They are voracious carnivores and foul creatures. Those that dwell along seacoasts are generally known as sirens. They didn't give sirens their own monster in the original. Did not remember that. They just kind of lump sirens as a nickname for harpy. All harpies are able to emit sweet-sounding calls. Any creature hearing these calls will proceed toward the harpies unless they save versus magic. Similarly, the touch of a harpy charms those creatures which fail to make their saving throw versus magic. The harpies attack, torture, and devour their charmed prey. What they do not want, they foul with excrement. So, if the harpies don't want to eat you, they will dump all over you. Attacks with her vulture claws and some form of weapon, often a bone club or some weapon left from one of her former victims. They speak their own language and none other. It goes around that sirens were always originally birds, and I think that did come first. But the mermaid interpretation actually is almost as old. I think there were even like distinctions. I think they both existed in some of the same contexts as just kind of like different kinds of siren. Hellhound. I like how nasty the Hellhound looks. Hellhounds are not normally from the material plane, but some few now dwell on it, having been brought along by various creatures who wish their evil service. In addition to a normal attack, Hellhounds breathe out a scorching fire on an opponent up to 1 foot distance, whatever distance that translates to in real life. It's considered dragon breath for game purposes. Move with great stealth. Herd animal is entry. Herd animal, a common monster. And they're just not a specific animal, just an animal that lives in herds. Musk oxen and reindeer at the North Pole, giraffe and antelopes at the equator. The smallest will have but 1 hit die, the largest will have 5. Attacks are simply a matter of the animals in question, modes of defense, horns, butting, hooves, flight. Damage is a factor of defense. This is a pretty pointless entry to have. But I appreciate that the monster manual includes a drawing of a giraffe, of adventurers afraid of a giraffe, specifically. Hippocampus. The hippocampus is the most prized of marine steeds, for they are strong, swift, and intelligent. They differ from the normal seahorse in that they have a long rear body similar to that of a great fish. And the hippocampus has 4 legs ending in powerful fins. They speak their own language and can learn another if properly trained. Oh, they can talk. You can have a merhorse that talks in D&D. I don't remember what the difference is between hippocampus and a kelpie in D&D necessarily. But yeah, kelpies are more like a sinister, like water spirit. Usually, kelpies are also sticky. You don't see that come up as much in modern media, but the original stories of kelpies had it that they were sticky. They were sticky all over, so if you if you tried to get up on a Kelpie, like to ride it like a horse, you would get stuck, and then it would drown you.
That's it.
Hippogriff. Hippogriffs dwell only in places uninhabited by men, generally nesting on rocky crags and similar places. They are fierce fighters and will defend themselves resolutely. As the hippogriff is an omnivore, it will never be found with Pegasi. I'm not entirely sure what that statement means exactly. Griffins will attack hippogriffs on occasion, and the hippogriff is able to fight well with its two great forepaws and powerful beak. Now there's more instructions on selling baby hippogriff. At least they're eggs. Hobgoblin. Oh yeah, that's right. The Pegasi hate. Pegasi and D&D hate anything meat. I forgot about that. Hobgoblins aren't really different from just regular goblins in D&D. Oh yeah, there's also an entry for hippos, hippopotamus. Herbivores, but they aggressively defend their own territory. Fights with exceedingly strong jaws. They basically got hippos correct. Hippos will mess you up pretty bad. Gygax is the creator of he's the guy credited as creator of Dungeons and Dragons, but he did actually develop it with several other people. He's not remembered all that fondly at this point. There's an entry for just horses, just regular horses. Oh, and the Hobgoblin has an underwater version too, the Coalynt. Just the same thing, just a Hobgoblin, but it's green and it has gills and like webbed hands and feet. Homunculus. The original Homunculus is so goofy. I like it's got like a big like doggy nose and kind of looks like it looks like something from like an older like Disney cartoon about the devil. This creature is created and animated through a special process by a magic user and an alchemist. Described hereafter. Homunculus travels on its hind legs or by flying. Its bite causes 1 to 3 points of damage and forces the victim to save versus magic or fall into a comatose sleep, which lasts for 5 to 30 minutes. Although it cannot speak, it knows what the magic user knows, and the latter is able to see and hear through the creature's eyes and ear. There's a telepathic link between the magic user and his creature, and the Homunculus can control 48 whatevers away from the master. It will never willingly pass from this maximum range. Hydra. Hydrae are reptilian monsters found in marshes, swamps, and similar places, as well as in subterranean layers. Their large four-legged bodies are surmounted by from 5 to 12 heads. Each head has 1 hit die and a full 8 hit points. When all the Hydra's heads are killed, the body dies, not until each and every head is killed. There we go, the Lernaean Hydra. This is the one that grows 2 more heads every time 1 head is chopped off. That's like the classic Hydra. Pyro Hydra. A red Hydra that breathes fire. Very, very creative. Here's just regular hyenas. Well, hyenas and giant hyenodons. Hyenodons are simply huge prehistoric hyenas. Excellent. Imp. Oh, yeah. They don't use this imp design these days. Very rare on the material plane, but on the planes of Acheron and Hell they are not uncommon. An imp is created from a larva. There's an entry for the demonic larva later. Very minor devil created to spread evil in the form of a familiar to a lawful evil man, user, or cleric. The imp is given the power to polymorph itself into animal form at will. Shape it can assume it's limited to the following: large fighter, raven, giant rat, or goat. Average intelligence plus devilish cunning. The imps in D&D are actually they're exactly the same as the 2 little devils in the Disney Hercules movie, basically. The D&D imp has a scorpion sting on the end of its tail. You can kind of see it here. Now this next one is one of my favorites, another classic, the Intellect Devourer. These also appear briefly in the movie that just came out. The Intellect Devourer is one of the most feared of monsters. They are found dwelling deep beneath the ground or in dark and dismal layers in the wilderness. Although they are able to attack with their great claws, their primary offensive means is psionic, for they subsist on the psychic energy of their prey, whether gained from the dying shriek or by more subtle means. If psionic energy is in use nearby, they will stalk the user, seeking a time to attack him alone and by surprise. The monster then leaps upon its victim, tearing with his claws and psionically attacking with ego whip or id insinuation. Those are, psychic powers in this game. If psionically successful, the Devourer will then house itself within the mindless body, seeking to deceive others by assuming the character of the person it has slain. The Intellect Devourer will then seek opportunities to attack and devour others. They are able to hide in shadow as well as a 10th level thief. Normal weapons and most spells have no effect upon these monsters. It would be pretty cool to play a person occupied by a devourer as a character, especially if you're not like a bad guy, like maybe you're a devourer who felt bad once they took over that guy's life. I think nowadays they also associate these with the mind flayers, though, and that's cool. I don't think every single brain-themed creature necessarily needs to tie back into the mind flayers. But I kind of like that I think it's more like the Mind Flayers use these as like, they keep them like dogs or something. It just kind of like brain things just kind of appeal to them, like aesthetically. But I really like how it's drawn in this original illustration. Like it's not just a human brain. It's kind of a weird like brain coral looking thing, of kind of a veiny pod. So it's like not so much that it's a brain with legs, but it's a creature that it's psionic, so it didn't really have to evolve anything other than a big brain in there. Invisible Stalker. I wonder why it doesn't have an illustration. Oh yeah, the Invisible Stalker is just air. It's air that hates people. Irish deer gets its own. Why wasn't this with the herd animal earlier? It's moose-sized creatures of the Pleistocene epoch dwell in temperate climes. Oh, okay, because it's prehistoric. So yeah, it's a prehistoric Irish deer. Yeah, why is it still called an Irish deer in the D&D world? They are not generally aggressive, but are very dangerous during rutting season. This is another monster I remember pretty well, and I always kind of thought of this one as iconic. I think it's also kind of obscure now. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce the name. Ixitzachdal? Achidal? I don't know. Yeah, I like that pronunciation. Aishit. That sounds right to me. A race of intelligent rays which dwell in shallow tropical seas. They are of evil disposition and clerical in nature. For every 10 encountered, there will be one which is the equivalent of a second-level human cleric with regard to spell use. Also, some of these monsters are vampiric. For every 20 encountered, there's a 50% chance that there will be a vampiric form in the group. Vampiric Itzizilies are similar to their fellows, but they regenerate 3 hit points per round and drain an energy level each time they strike the opponent. Yeah, it's a whole species of like stingrays. I guess these are kind of more like actually they look like the cow-nosed ray, but with scary teeth and little barbs, and they are evil clerics. They're evil cleric and vampire stingrays. Jackals, jaguars, more regular animals, jackalwares. The jackalware is a malign foe of humankind, a jackal able to assume the form of a man. In this guise, they roam about seeking to waylay and murder humans. They then steal their riches and eat the slain victims. The jackalware can use human weapons. Its gaze will have the effect of a sleep spell. I like they gave them 2 illustrations. They liked them so much. Kirin are a race of aerial creatures whose hooves rarely touch the earth. They dwell amongst the clouds and behind the winds. Females are never encountered, and Kirin are always solitary. They sometimes eat humans if properly observed, but the need to combat evil is great. A lot of spells. There's the original kobold. The kobolds were like they're really little scaly dog people originally. Modern D&D interprets the kobolds as like the lowest creatures related to dragons. The society of these creatures is tribal with war bands based on gens. The stronger tribes rule weaker ones. Kobolds are usually found in dank, dark places such as dismal, overgrown forests or subterranean settings. They hate bright sunlight, not being able to see well in it, but their night vision is excellent. Kobold math. Kobolds hate most of their life, delighting in killing and torture. They particularly hate such creatures as brownies, pixies, sprites, and gnomes. They war continually with the latter and will attack them on sight. Now they speak lawful evil. Brownies are little they're little gnome kind of people, little elf guys. And there's a bunch of kobolds. Look at this guy's giant. Look at his ant shield. I love that. The shield with a giant ant on it. I wonder what that means. Like, is that the symbol of this guy's like kingdom, or is are ants just very personal to him? I think the term brownie in the context of a little elf creature actually goes back almost as far as the term gnome. Lamia. Lamias prefer to dwell in desert, in ruined cities, caves, or the like. Their upper torso, arms, and head resemble a human female, while their lower body is that of a beast. I think almost all fantasy media these days interprets Lamia as having snake bodies, don't they? Aren't they always like snake women now? Lamasu. Lamasus dwell in warm regions, but they occasionally visit every clime. It is the nature of these creatures to aid and protect lawful good persons, and they are of generally kind and friendly disposition. I think Lamias in mythology weren't even snake-based. I have to look it up again. I think it used to be they had like bird wings and like cat bodies. Yeah, I'm looking it up now. Lamia was originally a bogeyman or bugbear term invoked by a mother or a nanny to frighten children into good behavior. Numerous sources attest to the Lamia being a child devourer. So there wasn't there wasn't any particular look a Lamia was necessarily supposed to have. But yeah, the next entry is a lamprey. Lampreys are leech-like eels. That's not true, really. They're not related to eels, which inhabit both fresh and salt water. They do not inhabit shallow bodies of water. They feed by biting their victims, fastening themselves to the hapless creature with sphincter-like mouths ringed with cruel teeth. Once attached, the lamprey will begin to drain blood on the next and each successful round. The rate of blood drain is equivalent to 2 hit points of damage per hit die the lamprey has. Thus, a giant specimen will drain blood, causing 10 hit points of damage per melee round. Yeah, lampreys, lampreys are jawless, cartilaginous fish. And the only other animal like that today is the hagfish. Although that doesn't necessarily mean that they're related to one another. It just means that both lampreys and hagfish are they're surviving members of some of the earliest vertebrates. Like there was a time on Earth when everything with a spinal cord was kind of structured like lampreys and hagfish. Yeah, I always thought the aboleths were also like hagfish adjacent. Oh, there's the larva. We mentioned those earlier. You have to love this drawing of all the little angry men, angry little man worms. The larvae are the most selfishly evil of all souls who sink to the lower planes after death. They abide in the gloom of Hades, controlled by the night hags. These creatures are desired by demons and devils alike, as they are used to form quasits or imps, respectively. Liches employ their essence in order to retain their undead status and powers. Because of the value of larvae, the night hags use them to trade off and thus maintain the freedom of their planes. Larvae appear as sickly yellow worms with distorted human faces. There in D&D there are planes of the underworld. They're ruled by monsters called night hags. You can imagine what those are. They're just basically like scary witch lady monsters. And apparently like the worst people turn into like worms in the night hags world. And the night hags they use them as money and livestock. They have a larva-based economy. Giant leech. This is not a leech in this drawing. This is a slug. A slug being ridden by one of the leprechauns from over here. Found only in the fetid waters and swamps and marshes, giant leeches are a threat to any warm-blooded creature which passes within their movement range. These horrors wait in the mud and slime for prey, and as it passes they strike. Giant leeches range from 1 to 4 hit dice in size. Various sized creatures usually are found in the same group. The initial attack also attaches the sucker mouth of the giant leech, and in the next melee round, and each round thereafter, it will drain blood equivalent of 1 hit point damage per hit die it possesses. Pretty much works the same as the lamprey. Giant leeches will come out of water at night to attack prey. They can be killed by attack or with quantities of salt sprinkled on their bodies. There is a 50% chance that the bite of one of these creatures will cause disease. Actually, real leeches actually don't carry disease that we know of. Leprechauns. I don't need to read. You all know what a leprechaun is. Leopard. You know what a leopard is. Lucrata. This is a good one. This weird creature haunts deserted and desolated places, where it is so ugly most other creatures cannot bear the sight of it. The body of a Lucrata resembles that of a stag, its tail being rather lion-like, and its legs end in cloven hooves. Its head is that of a huge badger, but instead of teeth it has sharp, jagged, bony ridges. This monster is very sly and can imitate the voice of a man or woman. It will do this to trick prey to approach within attack distance. Yeah, the Lucrata in real life was Pliny the Elder's misinterpretation of hyenas. I think he might have interpreted them as imitating voices because of the laughing hyena, I would assume. But I know in one early description of Lucratas, or Lupercatas, sometimes they were called, one early description out there says that they imitate the sound of a human throwing up in order to attract dogs, as prey, which is very, very gross. They didn't include the fake barfing in the D&D version. Now there's the lich. Everybody loves liches. A lich exists because of its own desires and the use of powerful and arcane magic. The lich passes from a state of humanity to a non-human, non-living existence through force of will. It retains this status by certain conjurations, enchantments, and phylactery. A lich is most often encountered within its hidden chambers, this lair typically being in some wilderness area or vast underground labyrinth. And in any case, was solidly constructed of stone and very dark. Liches were formerly ultra-powerful magic users or magic users/clerics of not less than 18th level. Their touch is so cold as to cause damage and paralyze opponents to make their saving throw. The mere sight of a lich will cause any creature below 5th level to flee in panic from fear. I like the lich illustration, I like it doing the little claw hands, the little cat girl gesture there. It's very just yeah. Lions? Just lions? I understand why the later editions started putting all the normal animals in the back, in just tables. And way too much of this book is devoted to just horses and lions and things. Lizard. Now these are not going to be normal lizards, however. Fire lizard. These reptiles may be ancestral dragon type or an offshoot of a common ancestor. In any case, these creatures resemble red dragons, are sometimes called false dragons, and the latter seem to avoid confrontation with fire lizards. They are slow-moving creatures that sleep for long periods. They are found in subterranean layers, coming forth every fortnight or so to hunt. As shiny things attract them, fire lizards collect metals and gems in their den. So the fire lizard is it's like a red dragon in every way, but it's much weaker, it's much less intelligent, and it's supposedly not like actually a dragon. Giant lizard. The giant lizard is remarkable only for its size. They dwell in marshes and swamps by preference. Because of their large maws, they are able to engulf prey. Minotaur lizard. These huge reptiles are very aggressive carnivores, usually inhabiting only warm regions. While moving slowly, they hide and quickly snatch at prey, surprising it on a 1 to 4. They have long, sharp talons and teeth which inflict terrible wounds. Subdued prey is dragged into the lizard's den to be devoured at leisure. Because of the mouth size of these creatures, a roll of 20 indicates a minotaur lizard has picked up any creature of man size and weight and has it fast in its mouth where it will be helpless. There's no mention of them having horns or anything that would make them like minotaur-y, other than I don't know. They live in maybe they live in labyrinths, but that's not mentioned. Subterranean lizard, found only underground. Most aggressive and dreaded out of all the lizards, apparently. For it is able to run along ceilings or walls as easily as floors because of its suction-cupped toes. Oh, it's a gecko! The most aggressive and dreaded of the giant lizards is a subterranean gecko. Worse still, its horrible teeth inflict great wounds, and it can cause double damage on hits where it clamps both jaws firmly upon its victim. Well, we're getting there. We're getting to the lurker above. First we got the lizard man. The original lizard man drawing is very cool. Lizard men are semi-aquatic, breathing air but often dwelling totally underwater and having caves which are not water-filled in which they lair. They are typically found in swamps, marshes, and similar places. They band together in rough tribal form. They are omnivorous, but lizard men are likely to prefer human flesh to other foods. In this regard, they have been known to ambush humans, gather up the corpses and survivors as captives, and take the lot back to their lair for a rude and horrid feast. About 1 tribe in 10 has evolved to a rare state. These lizard men will dwell in crude huts, use shields. This sounds exactly like an anthropologist wrote, like a douchey anthropologist wrote this. Like, this sounds like very like racist towards lizard men. I still don't know why they haven't made later editions of D&D made like dragon people into a basic player race. Like, you could just be a humanoid dragon now in any D&D game, and I think that just should have been a lizard person. Personally, I think it's a little over the top that just anyone can be a dragon. Yeah, I think the lizard man should have been a core player race instead of the dragon people. And then there's the Lokatha, the first fish person in this book, because there is more than one fish person in the same book. The Lokatha are a humanoid race of aquatic nomads. They roam shallow sea waters, hunting and gathering food from bountiful warm waters. Lokatha math. Lokatha are always mounted upon giant eels, their steeds. These creatures also fight. See eel for statistics. Riding a giant eel is a really funny visual. Like, how do you even stay on a giant eel. Yeah, I think the Quotoa are in either this book or one of the others in this edition. And then we have the Lurker Above. This is another of my favorites from older books, and I really love this design. I love these cute little eyes. The Lurker Above is a carnivorous creature found only in subterranean places. The chamber or cave is large, there might be as many as 4 of them, but normally only one is encountered. A lurker can creep along surfaces but slowly, or by using a gas which it generates and excretes into sacs about its body. This gives the Lurker Above a neutral buoyancy, and it then flaps its wing-like appendages and flies about. They surprise prey on a 1 to 4. When disturbed, the lurker drops from the ceiling, smothering all creatures beneath in the tough folds of its wings. This constriction causes 1 to 6 points of damage per round, and the victims will smother in 2 to 5 rounds in any event unless they kill the lurker and thus break free. Unintelligent, the lurker will fight until dead. Prey caught in its grip cannot fight unless the weapon used are both short and in hand at the time the creature falls upon them. This terrible beast somewhat resembles a large manta ray. Grayish belly is so textured as to appear to be stone, and the lurker typically attaches itself to a ceiling where it is almost impossible to detect. So, hang on a second, I'm gonna get you some, I'm gonna get you guys a couple of images relevant to the lurkers a second. For some reason, they don't have these anymore. I think they took lurkers out of D&D and they replaced them with another monster called the Dark Mantle. The Dark Mantle is cool, but it's not I don't think it's as cool as the lurker, personally. Yeah, I'm gonna show you what the lurker reminds me of in a second here. It kind of looks exactly like these are mantle slugs. They're also called leatherleaf slugs. This photo belongs to Crevice Dwelling on Tumblr. Yeah, if you go on Tumblr or on Twitter and look up Crevice Dwelling, yeah, these are two of his mantle slugs. Their names are Bupkis and Beef Tongue, respectively. I think the bigger one is Beef Tongue, the littler one is Bupkis. He's got lots of photos of them. Some of them look even more like the lurker. Find another good one. Here we go. Here's an even better one. Yeah, see that's the lurker. I'm gonna go back up to it a second. Yeah, the lurker is totally just a big slug, a big floating slug, floating mantle slug. That's my interpretation. And I think it was wrong of them to remove it from the game. Let me bring up the thing that replaced it really quick. This is what replaces the lurker in newer games. It's called the Dark Mantle. It is very cool. I do like it. It's like a vampire squid kind of, but it's not the same thing. I think they should just coexist. I don't think that lurkers and dark mantles need to be mutually exclusive. But now we're on the lycanthropes, everybody's favorite. But yeah, the werewolf is only one of the originals. There's the wereboar. Any humanoid creature bitten by a lycanthrope for damage equal to... How do you just get bitten by a boar and then walk away and become a wereboar? Werebear. Tell me the were-rat picture isn't one of the best illustrations in the book. The were-rats. Look at those guys. Sometimes known as ratmen, these sly and evil creatures inhabit subterranean tunnel complexes beneath cities. Prefer to move about in a rat-like shape, smaller than a man, much larger than a normal rat. Oh, there's the were-tiger as Alright then, I did not remember that, but there you go. Were-tigers are most often female.
That's it.
Werewolf. There's the illustration they went with for the werewolf. You don't really see like the Wolfman version of the werewolves anymore. Everybody likes to give them like the full-blown wolf head. Giant lynx. Oh yeah, the giant lynx is just another normal animal, but it comes with a little cartoon, like not just an illustration, like a little like Sunday paper comic strip here. This guy saying, "What do you mean we gotta talk to this lynx? The last monster we talked to ate half the party. Now, they do talk. He has a cross to, so you know he's a cleric, I think. Even though that kind of implies like the D&D world has Jesus, I guess. The giant lynx does talk though. Yeah, it is just Garfield. Mammoth. Woolly mammoths got their own thing. Manticore. Manticores prefer dismal layers, so they are typically found in caves or underground. They range in all climes, although they enjoy warm places more than cold. The favorite prey of manticores is man, and they are usually encountered alongside their layers hunting for human victims. Why do so many things prefer to eat humans in this setting? Like, I know narratively I know why. It just doesn't seem that sustainable, like, ecologically. Especially if humans are like the favorite prey of so many monsters that don't live where humans live. Like monsters that live like in caves. Mastodon. Wait, why is the mastodon and the mammoth separate? And then we also have the elephant entry. Why wasn't there just like a pachyderm entry? For that matter, why weren't these in the dinosaur section if other non-dinosaurs were in the dinosaur section? Masher. Wait a minute. I don't remember the existence of the Masher in this book. And I read this book for like months straight of my childhood. What is the Masher? These worm-like fish move slowly along coral reefs, crushing and eating the coral growth. Mashers have a number of dorsal spines with poisonous secretions. Huh. So the Masher is just a fish. It's a venomous fish that eats coral. I like that. I like some things that are closer to just animals in this book. Yeah, there's the Medusa. Medusae are hateful humanoid creatures which dwell in dark caves or caverns. Venturing forth on wings of prey, they try to beguile humans to look into their eyes. The gaze of a Medusa's eyes will turn creatures within whatever to stone unless they make their saving throw versus petrification. They misspelled that. They said petrifaction. Unless that is a older spelling, I don't know. If an opponent averts his eyes, the Medusa rushes up so that its asp-like head growth can bite at the victim. Victim bitten must save versus poison or die. Gaze reflected back, the creature itself will turn to stone. Oh, I like that they put an exclamation mark there. That's more surprising than anything else in this book. Speak both their own tongue and the common one. The body of a Medusa appears quite shapely and human. They typically wear human clothing. However, the face is a horrid visage. Sneaky hair writhes. Men is a entry in the monster manual. Normal men have from 1 to 6 hit points each. There are many types of men which are commonly encountered in the wilderness or in dungeons, always appearing in groups. Why would they need to put this in the monster manual? Why wouldn't you just use the stats for player characters? Like, to play this game, you already have to have the basic rulebook, and that already tells you what a human is and what a human can do. Bandit. That's not a monster either. That's just a bandit. They didn't even make Bandit a type of man. They made Bandit a separate monster entry. Berserkers. Oh, no, wait, no, yeah, these are types of men. I'm sorry. I got mixed up a second. Yeah, there's a section on men, and then the types of man, including bandits, brigands, berserkers, buccaneers, cavemen. Cavemen are primitive, very fierce humans. Oh dear. Now they have the entry for tribesmen. We don't need to. Nomads. Merchants. Merchants are a monster species, just so you know. Merchants are traders in goods and like merchandise. They travel in caravans. Yeah, pilgrims. Pilgrims are a monster entry. And there's I guess that's an illustration of the pilgrims. Maybe the pilgrims and the merchants. And I guess that's it. That's it for the men. The pilgrims were the last men in the book. Other than the mermen. Mermen are found in the seas and oceans in the warm, temperate, and tropical areas. They range over areas harvesting the vegetation and hunting the fish the seas provide. Additionally, mermen actually herd certain fishes. They venture out of water only to sun themselves or to visit some coastal spot. Oh, there's the mimic. I think this is the most famous and iconic D&D monster, kind of. Like, I think there's a lot of people who don't realize that D&D invented the mimic as a trope. It's in so many things now. It's just kind of treated as like a broad category of fantasy monster. Yeah, the original illustration has the mimic forming a fist, but just like every other depiction always gives them like a big mouth, like a toothy mouth. Mimics are subterranean creatures which cannot stand the light of the sun. They are able to perfectly mimic stone or wood. There are two varieties of this creature, the large, semi-intelligent carnivorous killer mimic, and the slightly smaller intelligent sort. While the former will attack anything which is nearby, the latter are generally friendly if offered food. All mimics move about constantly in search of prey. Mimics pose as stonework, door, chests, or any other substance or item they can imitate. When a creature touches the mimic, the latter lashes out with a pseudopod, delivering 3 to 12 points of damage per hit. Meanwhile, the mimic excretes a glue, which holds fast whatever member the creature touched the mimic with. Killer mimics do not speak, but the other breeds have their own language and can usually speak several other tongues. Yeah, even the description just has it, they basically punch you, and they're sticky. The mouth thing came a lot later. And then, like, right after the mimic is the Mind Flayer, another famous one. It's arguably more famous now that, like, Stranger Things used the name Mind Flayer. But the Mind Flayer in Stranger Things has very little in common with the real Mind Flayer. Mind Flayers are found only in subterranean places, as they detest sunlight. They are greatly evil and consider the bulk of humanity and its kin as cattle to feed upon. The Mind Flayer's physical attack is by striking a victim with its 4 tentacles. If a tentacle hits, it will reach the opponent's brain in 1 to 4 rounds and draw it forth, immediately killing the creature. The Mind Flayer then devours the brain. Its more feared attack mode, however, is the Mind Blast of psionic power. If an encounter is going against a Mind Flayer, it will immediately flee, seeking to save itself regardless of its fellows or its treasure. These monsters speak only their own arcane language and several other weird tongues, purportedly those of terrible races of things which dwell in regions of the subterranean world far deeper than mankind has ever ventured. It is also rumored that these monsters have a city somewhere deep beneath the earth. And then there's this wonderful illustration. Yeah, the Mind Flayers are now considered one of the biggest villain monster species in this setting. They have so much lore that there's at least one entire book just about the Mind Flayers, which are now their proper species name is Illithid or Illithid. I'm not sure better pronunciation. Now we know they have they do have cities. They also have like elder brain pools where they're born, and they have parasitic larvae. Minotaur. This is a pretty good drawing of a Minotaur. I like how scary that face is. Minotaurs are cruel man-eaters. Not particularly intelligent, but cunning, with excellent senses. Minotaurs are playable these days, aren't they? Mold. I love the Sentry. I love that Mold is a monster. Brown mold grows anywhere beneath the surface of the ground. It is light-tanned to golden brown in color. It cannot stand high concentrations of ultraviolet light. It feeds on radiant energy of most other sorts. Where a patch of brown mold grows, the temperature will be below average. If a creature walks within whatever the patch, the mold will begin absorbing its body heat, even from a basically cold-blooded creature. Each melee round that a creature is close to the brown mold, the mold will drain heat equal to 1 to 8 hit points frost damage for every 10 degrees of body heat over 55. Worse still, this mold grows instantaneously from heat. So if a torch, flaming oil, or fireball is near the patch, it will be able to grow 2, 4, or 8 times its area from the heat fed to it. This growth will be so rapid on the next round it will have spread and drain any further heat in an area of new growth. Yellow mold. A more common underground fungus is yellow mold, which is pale yellow to golden orange in color. Any creature which touches this mold is attacked by its enzymes. It also affects wood, albeit more slowly. It does no harm to metals or stone. If the substance is contacted roughly, there's a 50% chance the colony will release spores. These deadly spores shoot out in an asphyxiating cloud, originating from the center of impact. Any creature which is within this cloud will die, its lungs filled with yellow mold growth. When formed into great colonies of at least 300 square feet in area, this growth will form a collective intelligence about 1 time in 6. If this should happen, the yellow mold will be aware mentally and psionically. It will attack by spore cloud if it senses the presence of other life forms, or psionically if such abilities are used within sensing range. If it attacks psionically, it will await the approach of a life form and then loose an attack which is equal to the most powerful form of id insinuation. It cannot be counterattacked psionically unless a cleric who has the power to telepathically communicate with plants is on hand. Mold is not a plant. I disagree with that. But yeah, the monster manual had 2 kinds of supernatural mold. One was just like toxic and infectious, but it could become intelligent mold. And the other one drained heat from your body. This is another one like the green slime where eventually they stopped using it as a monster, and now it's just a footnote or a trap or like a hazard in some books. And I don't like that. I think that the mold, I like the idea of something being categorized as a monster, even if it's not, like a beast or a creature that you fight. I like the idea that dealing with toxic molds it's a monster encounter. You're fighting a living thing in some way. I think there were even early monster books for D&D that included like viruses as monsters, diseases. I thought that was cool. Yeah, the next one's the Morkbot. This is another one that always stood out to my memory pretty well. It's pretty weird. It's like a squid guy, a funny-looking squid guy. I'm pretty sure this was inspired by like Jenny Hanover. Does everybody here know what a Jenny Hanover is? I'm gonna get a picture of it up. Are there Jenny Hanovers in Splatoon? Or just a character like named that? Yeah, this is a Jenny Hanover here. It's just people use like sailors used to. They would take a dead dried up stingray, especially if they if they ate a stingray. Like, the edible part of a stingray is mostly the fins, so after they would use the fins, they would leave the rest of the ray to dry up in the sun, and then they would take it home and they would tell their kids, this is a dead sea monster. This is a dead baby sea monster we found. And they'd also they'd sell them as like souvenirs and stuff. People still make them, like taxidermy artists. But yeah, that's called a Jenny Hanover. And I'm pretty sure that's what the D&D Morkoth is supposed to be. So, the Morkoth or Morlock is a dim, shadowy monster often referred to as the Wraith of the Deep. It is possibly humanoid, but reports vary. It inhabits dark, deep waters. The lair of a Morkoth is a series of spiraling tunnels, and at the nexus of these passages lurks the Morkoth. Any creature passing over one of these tunnels is drawn towards it hypnotically, for the tunnels form a pattern which is hypnotic. Nice sentence. When a victim is within the passages, he approaches the Morkoth without realizing it and will be charmed by a spell from the monster unless a saving throw is made. The charmed victim will then be devoured at the Morkoth's leisure. The tunnels of a Morkoth are constructed so as to prevent large creatures from entering. There are typically 6 tunnels in a layer. Note that should any victim come closer than 6 feet, the hypnotic effect is broken. The Morkoth attacks by biting. A charmed creature will suffer this attack without knowledge, and thus enable the monster to consume it. Spell attacks of any sort are reflected by the Morkoth, affecting the caster and possibly affecting others nearby also. So, magic. I'm not sure exactly where they got the idea to make like a Hanover into this weird, this hypnotic like deep sea. I don't know what you'd really call it. Like kind of a. I guess the Wraith of the Deep is what they call it. Or just makes like an Uzumaki tunnel that draws you in and kills you. Yeah, there's just how do you like. You can use magic and stuff in these games to go underwater and breathe water and have a undersea adventure, but as far as I know, that all the rules for that are so much more complicated, or they were, that it was very uncommon for people to play underwater adventures. Mules. There's just an entry on mules. Sterile hybrids between horses and donkeys. Mummies. Mummies are undead humans with existence on both the normal and the positive material planes. The positive material plane. That's interesting. Most undead in this setting are associated with the negative plane, I think. Found near their tomb or in burial places or ruins, they retain a semblance of life due to their evil, and they seek to destroy any living thing they encounter. Their unholy hatred of life and their weird unlife state gives them tremendous power, so that a blow from their arm smashes opponents. So the mummy is abnormally strong because it's so angry all the time. The scabrous touch of a mummy inflicts a rotting disease on any hit. The mere sight of a mummy will cause fear and revulsion. I've never agreed with the idea that the undead are inherently tied to evil. I don't think anybody else is really a fan of that either. I think everybody loves like a friendly skeleton, a guilet. There's no reason why like coming back from the dead should always be like a bad thing. Naga. Okay, what's weird about the Naga? Hang on a second. I got another picture to show you guys. A couple pictures actually. The Naga is as you probably know, it's a fairly basic concept. It's a snake person, or a snake with a human head. But for some reason, the Naga is another monster this book ripped off from a plastic toy, like a specific plastic toy. Let me get it a second. Like, how arbitrary is that they copied like famously a lot of D&D monsters in this book are from plastic toys that had no like copyright on them. They were like generic. And I guess they got a hold of some of these when they were testing the game and like testing the use of miniatures. It just seemed weird to like lift even like the pose and everything from this one. But what's weirder still is that I had some of these toys when I was a kid, but they were like they were so much more cheaply made that they no longer had faces. Let me show you that a second. Yeah, this is what I had. I got some of these in like a plastic bag full of little plastic knights and demons and stuff. And I thought these were pretty cool. These faceless worm things. I would have made this its own D&D monster. But yeah, apparently this was just kind of a downgrade from this Naga. Naga are snake-like creatures with good brains and magical abilities. I think a Mind Flayer wrote this sentence. Guardian Naga. Wise and good, Guardian Naga are found principally in sacred places, guarding treasure of lawful good minions. Guarding treasure of lawful good minions? I feel like this was written poorly, or as watchers over some evil. In addition to poisonous biting for 1 to 6 points of damage and constricting for 2 to 8, Guardian Naga can spit poison. I always did like that the Naga was like a good monster, a good snake monster. Oh yeah, you're right. The grave crawler from D&D, from later games, definitely could have been inspired by that other plastic Naga. To the grave crawler a second. Yeah, there's the grave crawler. I think added by, I want to say, 3rd edition. Like I'm positive this is a third edition, 3rd or 4th edition illustration, but I don't know if that was the first time they made the grave crawler. It was like an undead worm thing. I think next time I do this, I should probably gather up some images ahead of time, because I keep finding reasons to fetch pictures. Spirit Naga. Well, the Spirit Naga is totally evil. Seeks to do harm whenever and wherever possible. The Water Naga. The Water Naga are curious but quite neutral in attitude. The regular Naga is good, and the Spirit Naga is evil, and the Water Naga doesn't care. The Water Naga is fine. Yeah, then here's the the Neo Otyugh. Is that how you say it? Otyugh? 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 I don't know. Yeah, this actually comes first in the book before the regular one of these. I don't know why they didn't just combine them like they do some other monsters. Neo Otyugh are a larger, more intelligent species of Otyugh. They conform to the general characteristics and are even more aggressive in their hunting. Slightly better at telepathic communication. Now, there was no reason to give this its own entry, but it does have really cool art, and it gets like an additional illustration. I actually had I had prepared a Be Right Back notice using the Otyugh bendy toy they made back in the 80s. I have not yet actually taken a break during any of these streams, however. I probably ought to start like scheduling maybe like after the first hour, maybe like a 15-minute break. I'm sure some of you sometimes need to like eat or use the bathroom. Actually, now that we have gotten to the Otyugh, or whatever, or however you say that, we can take a break. Let's take like a 10-minute break if anybody needs like a little snack. I should probably maybe get one. Is the stream cutting out? Yeah, I think I'll be back in a few minutes myself. I could probably use a break from continually reading about creatures. Alright, I'm back. I guess I probably should have given like a specific break time. I did have a snack. I had an orange. Just it's important that you know I have eaten an orange now. So I've eaten an orange, and that means I can read about night hags. It would be fun to go through my old MTG card collection, but it is actually gone. I do say this in my old reviews of Magic cards, but like 15 or 16 years ago now, my entire childhood and teen collection of Magic the Gathering cards vanished. No, it was all contained in one container, and in the course of a move, it just I think it got left at someone's house, and then like they misplaced it, and then they moved, or maybe like I don't know, maybe somebody else found and stole it, or maybe it got accidentally thrown out. I don't know. It disappeared. Yeah, I had been collecting Magic from the about the release of Ice Age all the way up to like whatever set they had released around like 2002. And I don't doubt that that collection I lost probably could have bought a house by now if I had a foil Sliver Queen from a pack. I probably had tens of thousands of dollars in Magic card value at one time. Yeah, as soon as the slivers came out in Magic, I was obsessed with them. I collected that set obsessively until I got one of the queens. But yeah, I'll get back on the topic of D&D here and the Night Hag. There's the original Night Hag illustration. I like how it's like just like some of the face looming out of the dark, the face and the claws. But these are the race of night hags rules the convoluted plains of Hades, and they are seldom encountered elsewhere. In their own region they are numerous, but they appear but singly on the material plane, and always in search of very evil persons to slay and bring back to Hades to form another larva, a valuable commodity to both demons and devils alike. See, I said the night hags had a larva-based economy. If a night hag finds a selfishly evil person, she will cast a powerful sleep spell, which affects even up to 12th level humans. The night hag then strangles the sleeping victim. They included. I forgot this. They included like sleep paralysis lore. You know, like I don't know how many people know this these days. It was like a kind of a viral concept on the internet for a while, but a lot of people who have sleep paralysis for whatever reason, sleep paralysis nightmares often, like very commonly, have figures just like this, like a terrifying, like old witch, basically. And that goes back far enough that it was like a mythological concept as well, like the hag that comes for you in your nightmares. If the sleep spell fails, the hag will visit the victim nightly in an ethereal state, intrude on the victim's dreams in order to cause him or her to become ethereal also. Then ride the victim until dawn. They ride you. Cannot be removed from the back by the... Yeah, they just literally ride you like a horse. Ride you like a horsey. Each nightly ride permanently drains 1 hit point from the victim's constitution. So if you're evil enough, the night hag will appear in your dreams and ride you around like a horsey until you die, and then you become a larva. Night hags hate goodness, and they will attack any creature which is of good alignment, as long as the possibilities of success appear favorable. They can summon demons, but they don't like to, because then the demon or devil wants to be rewarded with a larva. The hag doesn't want to tip. Doesn't like tipping. No wonder they're evil alignment. able to astrally project their bodies, but in order to do so, they must be in possession of a special chariot which each forges in Hades. The concept of a hag as a monster species is so weird, though. Like, an entire species, like, just like convergently evolve to look like scary grandmas or something. Like, why are they all? Why isn't it an entire society of scary old women? Nightmare, also known as demon horses and hell horses. Nightmares are creatures from the lower planes. They are ridden primarily by the more powerful demons and devils, as well as by night hags. On occasion, they serve as steeds for undead, such as specters, vampires, and liches. The nightmare attacks with its great fangs, as well as its burning hooves. These creatures breathe out a smoking hot cloud during combat, and it obscures vision by blinding the eyes and choking its opponent. The hell horse is gaunt and skeletal with a huge head. That's not really what was drawn here. Nixie. Nixies are water sprites which inhabit lakes. I like the Nixie waving to us. They made him look like a really chill guy. They weave dwellings of living seaweed. That sounds pretty cool looking. Like a building made of like seaweed, knitted together, like kelp crocheted together. Oh wait, no, they're not chill. They're not chill at all. They delight in enslaving humans. If a human is charmed by the Nixies, they will take the victim to their lair for one full year. Thereafter, the charm wears off and the victim is allowed to go free. During any period of such enslavement, the Nixies will keep a water-breathing human captive. So the Nixie just lets you breathe underwater for 1 year, but you have to be like the Nixie's like butler, and then you're free to go. And they're like, okay, you've done your time in the seaweed house. Nymph. These beautiful, ever-young appearing women inhabit the loveliest of wilderness places, grottos in the sea, clear lakes and streams, and crystalline caverns. Uh-oh. Looking at one will cause permanent blindness unless the onlooker's save versus magic. If the nymph is nude or disrobes, an onlooker will die unless a saving throw versus magic is successful. 10% chance they'll be friendly by a good creature without a I did not remember that. Yeah, I did not remember that you die if you see a nymph take their clothes off. And you go blind if you just look at them at all. And it doesn't specify that you have to be like horny. It just apparently just if you see too much of a nymph, you die. If you see a nymph's bazongas, you just drop dead. I love this illustration of the big octopus in the sunken ship. I like its little eyes. Ochre Jelly. This is another of the classic D&D blob. Ochre Jelly are a form of giant amoeba. They sleep about in dungeons, hunting for any form of flesh or cellulose to devour. They far prefer the former. Their amorphous form allows them to flow through small spaces. They can travel along walls or ceilings. And the fluids excreted by these creatures dissolve flesh. A lot of the slimes are exactly the same, but I appreciate that the original book treated them as distinct types of creatures. I like how the illustration here. The illustrator put a lot more time and effort into drawing and shading the slime than the walls. Or I guess the back wall is pretty finely detailed. I guess after that they got tired of drawing bricks. And there's a giant octopus from the little drawing up there. Giant octopi inhabit warm waters of medial to shallow depth. Lair in wrecked ships and undersea caves. Readily attack swimmers or seize small vessels in order to eat the crew. These creatures are malicious and have a cunning bent. I feel like octopuses, they're evil here. They're neutral but with an evil slant. Cephalopods have become so much more like mainstream popular. I feel like nowadays they would probably include like they wouldn't make them evil for one. And they would probably throw in like that you can like befriend them or talk to them. They probably have in some D&D or Pathfinder publications. And there's the original ogre. Just an ogre. Ogre mage, Japanese ogre. So an oni, I don't know how I forgot there was oni in the original D&D monster manual. They didn't give them the name they're supposed to have. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the ogres can cast magic to fly if they want to. I like the idea of flying ogres, like flying without any wings. And there's the original orcs. The first D&D orcs had like little cartoon piggy heads. Can I zoom in on the piggy heads? Not very high resolution scan. But yeah, they were like piggy hippo people. Kinda like more like the moblins from Zelda. Orc tribes are fiercely competitive, and when they meet, it is 75% likely that they will fight each other unless a strong leader, such as wizard, evil priest, blah blah blah. Being bullies, the stronger will always intimidate and dominate the weaker. If goblins are near, orcs are strong enough, they will happily bully them. Orcs dwell in places where sunlight is dim or non-existent, for they hate the light. In full daylight, they must deduct one. Known orc tribes include the following: Vile Rune, Bloody Head, Death Moon, Broken Bone, Evil Eye, leprous hand, rotting eye, and dripping blade. Those are pretty sick names. Have they made orcs like a core player race yet, or is it still just like half orcs? Because I feel like everybody has always just wanted to be able to play just a orc or a goblin. It's like a pretty basic. The half-orcs were like such a weird concept. Yeah, here they are too. As orcs will breed with anything, there are any number of unsavory mongrels with orcish blood. This is another entry that's very like pretty prejudiced towards the monster that it's writing. Orcs cannot crossbreed with elves. Half-orcs tend to favor the orcish strain heavily, so such sorts are basically orcs, although they can sometimes pass themselves off as true creatures of their other stock. That's all very... yeah, that's all kind of, like, awkward. Nobody likes thinking of orcs and goblins as just bad guys anymore. Everybody wants there to be nice orcs. I think there are nice orcs nowadays in D&D. The giant otter is a monster. Giant otters dwell in lakes and rivers. These creatures are basically non-aggressive. Why do we need just regular otters as a monster right up? Not all of you were here for the first part of this book, the first stream, but it did have giant beavers, and the giant beavers were great because they were as intelligent as people. You could talk to the giant beavers. You can't talk to the giant otters. Oh yeah, there's the regular Otyugh. I love this illustration. This Otyugh is having like the worst migraine, I guess. These weird monsters are omnivorous scavengers, not at all hesitant about adding a bit of fresh meat to their diet of dung, offal, and carrion. They hate direct sunlight or bright light, so they are found underground in most cases. Usually only a single individual is encountered, for Otyugh typically live in partnership with other subterranean monsters. The Otyugh will dwell in a true state with other powerful monsters in order to scavenge droppings and other leavings. In most cases, they live in piles of dung and rubbish and thrive there. Has a sensory organ stalk and 2 tentacle arms which protrude from its hideous body. The eyes are always thrust above the offal the creature layers under. Is it awful or offal? I never really hear that pronounced. But yeah, it is also basically the trash compactor creature, the Dianaga from Star Wars. They have no interest whatsoever in treasure as humans know it, but their partners may, occasionally making the guarding of treasure they value a condition of allowing them to dwell in symbiosis with them. They speak their own language and are semi-telepathic, but often able to communicate with other life forms. Yeah, these guys have stuck around as a classic monster in these games. And obviously they're one of my favorites. I know in later books they also say that an alternate name An alternate name for the Audug is Gulgura, which I always thought was a nice sounding word. There's also the fact that I think it was a Pathfinder game that fleshed out the personality of these monsters. I'm actually looking up a little bit more about the Audiugs, just to refresh my memory. Okay. In the many years since the Atiug or Golgothra was first published, it's now kind of established that they're kind of sweethearts. Like, if you get to know an Atiug, they're not smart, but they are like kind of friendly. They also like really love their families. Apparently, Atiugs like mate for life, and they're very protective of their little babies. I think it was a Pathfinder book that said Autiug also they really love collecting treasure, but what they consider treasure is usually garbage. And they're also very defensive of that. They really like to show you their garbage, and you need to be nice about it. Which, I mean, you're not gonna be rude. It's totally on you if you screw up. Giant owl. That's just a giant owl. Well, there's the owl bear. Owl bear is another classic. And if you didn't know that this is what the owlbear used to look like, this is what the owlbear used to look like. I love that face. It's not an owl. It's not an owl's face at all. But actually, I have to get another photograph for you. A second. Because, yeah, the owlbear is another one that was a plastic figure first. Just a second here. Okay, I found a pretty good image. This also shows all the rest of the set, in case you've never seen this before. Yeah, we went over this last stream as well, but yeah, these little plastic monsters were made in Japan, originally meant to be like cheap knockoff kaiju. These were supposed to be like affordable like dollar store Ultraman monsters. Yeah, the figure that became the owlbear is apparently so rare. If you have one of these, it can be worth a lot. I saw one sell for like $200. A lot of the other ones are still kind of common, still kind of cheap. But yeah, personally, I think the owlbear actually looks a lot better with this like miserable, like Sam the Eagle face. I just really like that. And yeah, some of those figures never did become D&D monsters. Let's see. The horrible owlbear is probably the result of genetic experimentation by some insane wizard. Several monsters say this, and I've always really liked it. especially because it's not really necessary. I mean, like, weird hybrid creatures just kind of naturally exist in this setting. Yeah, it would be great if it was the same guy. Just one guy keeps doing this stuff. These creatures inhabit the tangled forest regions of every temperate clime, as well as subterranean labyrinths. They are ravenous eaters, aggressive hunters, and evil-tempered at all times. They attack prey on sight and will fight to the death. Yeah, I'd imagine. I feel like in a world of magic, they would figure out like the existence of cells and DNA and all that stuff. I'm sure there'd be like just like, you know, magic spells that just for microscopic sight or something, or kind of just to expand your knowledge. Yeah, these days the owlbear is it's a classic monster, not just in D&D, but it does appear in a lot of other games and some anime. It's not like you can really copyright the idea of, you know, just an owl head on a bear body, or just the name owlbear. It's so basic. I think we might actually be able to finish this book if I went another, like, 20 or 30 minutes, maybe. I don't know, how far are we? I don't know, maybe I should actually, I should end after another page or two, possibly. We have gone like 3 hours now, I think. Yeah. Yeah, how about I just read like 2 more monsters? Pegasus found in remote places, typically very shy and wild. Yeah, the Pegasus isn't that interesting. Let's go ahead to the Periton. Peritons dwell in rocky hills or mountainous regions. They are omnivorous creatures of the weirdest appearance, likely the result of the same type of experimentation as brought about the owlbear. The creature attacks with sharp horns. Claws are too weak to use. When it is dead, the Periton tears out the victim's heart with its teeth. The organ is necessary to the Periton to reproduce, and the creature immediately flies away in order to do so. Human hearts are the type most sought by Peritons. Now, the Periton is another obscure mythological creature. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. It was just made up in one book. And the description does not do anything with the fact that it's casting like a human-shaped shadow. That's just not mentioned at all. It also doesn't tell you like what a Periton does with the human heart in order to reproduce. But then we have another one that I remember as a classic D&D monster, and nobody else really cares about, the Piercer. Piercers inhabit caves, caverns, and similar subterranean places. With their stony outer casing, these monsters are indistinguishable from stalactites found on cave roofs. They are attracted by noise and heat, and when a living creature passes beneath their position above, they will drop upon it in order to kill and devour it. Larger varieties will be found with smaller ones. I guess people don't care that much about this monster anymore because it's the same effect as a normal stalactite falling on you. but I like the idea of a creature that pretends to be a stalactite, just so you can have a scenario where stalactites are falling on you, because natural stalactites take many, many years to form, and it feels like falling spikes are kind of like a classic hazard, like something you expect to be a danger in a setting like this. So yeah, naturally that happens only because there are these fake, like, I feel like they're probably mollusks. I think later books even specified they had like a snail foot. Yeah, I think in newer books they're considered the larva of the roper, which is a monster we haven't gotten up to this time. We'll probably get up to it if I do this one more time for this book. Yeah, I think we will end for now on the killer stalactite. I don't know if you can tell when my voice is starting to wear out from reading all these. And there's this giant pike though. Well, this is another good picture of a guy getting eaten by a big fish, which I'm glad happens more than once in the same book. Yeah, but yeah, for me it is now 8 p.m. For some of you, it's like the middle of the night. Oh, don't worry. I've got so many of these books, both like physically and digitally. If I made this a regular thing, I would probably never run out. Although I'm not sure reading specifically RPG monster books. I'm not sure that I'll make that like my main like Twitch thing, because I think there is somebody else who does that already. I don't want to like step on people's toes. Plus, I could just as easily do this kind of thing for like gaming monsters, movie monsters, the same kind of stuff I make articles on my website for. I guess that's true. I guess there's also no way any one person can cover like anywhere near like the whole scope of tabletop role-playing monsters. Thoughts on the Oddworld series? Oddworld was a very special game to me as a child. I played the first two like from beginning to end, and the whole style of them really inspired me a lot at the time. I have not really cared for any of the additional games they've made in the setting or the remake. Unfortunately, I feel like the remakes kind of lost a lot of the aesthetic. Pikmin I have been meaning to do something about for a long time. What sucks is that to this day there are no high resolution images for every for every creature in the original Pikmin. There's like plenty for Pikmin 2, and I think you can find all of them for like Pikmin 3. Alright, and do I even have the right number of games? Was there a Pikmin 3 yet? I have not kept up that well. Well, the truth is, I actually kind of want to move away from constantly creating articles. It takes a very long time. Like, I covered all this today, you guys, and only in 3 hours, and that might seem like a while, but if I wrote an article for my site reviewing everything I just reviewed in 3 hours, I would be spending up to 10 hours on that article, to be honest. I would be, because I'd be curating images, I'd be like writing, rewriting, getting the grammar just right, making sure everything like works in the CSS. Like, I still want to do articles. I don't want to like retire that, but I'm definitely not as bent on writing site articles for every single thing these days that catches my interest anymore. It's too much. It's too much time sitting and typing about cartoon monster creature things. So yeah, I'll probably keep doing streams from time to time or weekly. It is a lot of fun to read things like real time with people. I get the appeal now. I was never someone really attracted to the idea of Twitch or streaming before. But it's a nice thing to do on the weekend. Yeah, Godzilla Singular Point is a very dense, a very obtuse anime series. I really liked it, but you do kind of have to know some pretty complicated scientific theory to really appreciate it's literally Godzilla Singular Point was written by a quantum physicist. I don't think almost anyone could fully understand all of the theories that this guy gets into with it. I really like the idea of Godzilla as like a quantum phenomenon, though, like an actually physics breaking entity. If you've never heard of that anime, I do recommend it, or at least trying it out. But yeah, I think it's a good time to wrap up the stream completely now. I had fun. I'm glad that people showed up again for this, and found it interesting to hear me talk about, the Atiugs. So, yeah, thanks again, and hopefully I'll see some of you next week.